I'm delighted to welcome today Al Williamson, who is a voiceover artist and retired police officer. Welcome, Al.
Hi, lovely to be here, Elaine. Thanks very much.
Marvellous. Second police officer, retired police officer that I've spoken to in the last month, which is wonderful. As a former police person myself, it's always nice to uh, sort of touch base, as it were. My dad was a police inspector, and they wouldn't have me in the police, so they shoved me in the specials or asked me to volunteer for the specials
Yeah,
where I was. I'm going back now to the late 70s, so a long, long time ago, before I was grey. So, welcome, Al, and your lovely voice. So, I'm just going to ask a few questions, and you can wibble on all day while I just listen to your beautiful voice.
that's fantastic. It may be a bit croaky this time of the day, but we'll see what we get.
Have you been doing lots of voiceover things?
Done some stuff this morning, and another sort of interview not long ago as well. And the voice does get tired for me during the course of the day. Still,
Yeah.
I'm at my best in the mornings, definitely.
Okay, fine. Okie dokie. Well, you sound perfectly lovely to me.
Fantastic.
So, voiceover, I mean, I hear so many, I know quite a lot of voiceover people, and
Yeah.
the range is quite diverse in the types of work they do, and obviously their types of voices as well. So, what type of work do you enjoy doing most, Al?
Well, I think I've come to voiceover quite late, having had a career as a police officer. Um, it's something I always quite fancied a long time back, but it was very difficult. Then you had to go to London and do the recording studios in Soho and everything, and it was logistically quite difficult. But things have obviously changed now, and it's much easier to do. But the most wonderful thing about being a voiceover artist is exactly what you've just asked me. What is the bit that you like best? And the bit that I like best is I get up in the morning and I literally don't know what I'm going to do. So I could be doing a very dry medical explainer, which I've got to spend hours working out how to say particular medical terms. I could be doing a very emotive charity piece about water shortages, lots and lots of climate control stuff at the minute, and slightly emotive and emotional. I could be doing some very direct corporate messages. I could be doing what I call a sillet bang, an
Yes.
advert which is quite today only
Yes.
type sort of thing. Or I could be pretending to be a pirate for a gaming thing. So the thing I love most about it is I get up in the morning and I literally don't know which voice I'm going to use for what job or what audition that I'm going to be doing that day, which is just great fun, particularly when compared to where I came from, where everything was sort of quite intense and quite full on. This is not quite spur of the moment, but every day is very different for very different reasons.
If you don't know what you're going to be doing when you wake up, does that mean that you get fed work through various different channels and you don't know what they're going to be until they arrive on your desktop?
Yes. So I'm guessing. I guess there's sort of three, maybe four different channels that work comes to me. One is by reference, somebody referencing a piece of work straight to me, which is I would normally have a little bit more notice about that and have had some thought processes. I do have an agent now, so you can get work coming straight from the agent, and that will be auditioning as well. Oh, this is very bad, but I'm going to have a little cough. So I might get auditions coming through to turn around from my agent. The biggest source of my work is via websites. So websites that are effectively taking the place of the agent. So people will pay to put an advert for a voiceover on a website. I pay to look at those adverts. I record on their website the auditions, and you get shortlisted and hopefully get some of the jobs back to you. And the last way really is, and the best and most satisfying one is when a previous client comes back to you and wants you to do some more work, really, which is happening more and more for me now. So that's really good.
Brilliant, brilliant. So how long have you been doing this new career, Al?
I'd say, I think probably about 3.5 years since I decided I was going to have a go at it. I thought about it maybe 20 years ago. 3.5 years, something like that. The first year of that, sort of pre-COVID, was very much finding my feet, getting some equipment, finding out what it was all about. Because like most things in life, it's not quite as straightforward as you think it's going to be. You actually do need to put a bit of time and effort in. So probably put in a good year just understanding some of the processes. Very steep learning curve, not just with the reading and interpretation of scripts, but the technology, because as I said, everything's done digitally now. I've got my own studio here at home, hopefully filled with quite good kit. I've had to build that up over a period of time and learn, hopefully, how to use it. So 3.5 years, probably 2 years, where I've said, you know, I am properly a voiceover artist, though I do other things as well. But, yeah.
So, retired police officer. So, did you serve your full whack there, or did you leave early to do this? How did the transition work?
Yeah, no, I did in total 32 years with the police. 30 as an officer, and then another 2 as a civilian. Yeah, joined as a boy of 19. So did my full whack. Had a wonderful career. I was lucky enough to become a detective fairly early on in my career. So the majority of my career was spent as a detective, and then also on specialist squads, which I was very privileged to be able to work on. I had wonderful experiences, wonderful life experiences, some awful stuff, as anybody, yourself and your father would know. You know, policing can be quite grim. We see the bits of life that hopefully lots of people don't have to see, but all life experience. So as with any police officer, we get a lot of other people's lives thrown into ours. Yeah.
And that can be very stressful, can't it? It's and it takes a toll on the health. So how was your health, particularly in the latter years?
Yeah, I think so yes, you're absolutely right. It does take a toll, both with the stress of what you're doing and who you're having to deal with, and the situations that you're having to deal with. But it can also be quite an all-consuming job. And where I was working on specialist squads, where we were doing all the sexy stuff, and it was all quite a tight, secretive environment. The job can take over, and I don't know whether I let it take over or it's just what happens. But you know, I was a police officer 24 hours a day. I was on call in my mind at least 24 hours a day, whether I was on holiday with my children or I was home alone. I was on duty 24 hours a day with telephones out in front of me, 3 or 4 mobile phones at any one time. And that lifestyle of being always accountable, always on call, coupled with, during that sort of, certainly the 90s, early 2000s, there was still very much a culture of blokiness and drinking and smoking. And I was good at drinking and smoking. I've got to say, I was really good at drinking and smoking. And I was good at my job as well. And I had a marriage breakup, which I'm sure was partly down to my my work-life balance. All those things start to build up, and you know, and my marriage breakup, probably I didn't realize at the time the effect that was having on me. I know I was quite aggressive, felt a bit humiliated, lots of jealousy, but was still a blokey bloke, and the way that police officers dealt with that sort of thing was to be blokey about it, and you know, not explore your actual emotions. But ultimately, for whatever reason, in 2013, I had a heart attack, and subsequently had a cardiac arrest as well, so I had to be resuscitated. So I had the near-death experience type sort of thing, and that changed things quite dramatically for me, and it's probably why I've ended up doing something which I think is so remote now from the police, is that I didn't wake up after my heart attack and think, oh my goodness, how's work getting on? I thought, oh my God, where are my daughters? You know, how am I going to tell them about this? So that was a very sobering experience for a number of reasons. and changed things for me hugely, both well, not both, but in my career, in my blokiness, and in my family life and everything. Yeah, so was quite poorly for quite a while afterwards. Actually, was off work, I think, for probably something like six months. Went back to work. Work were brilliant. The police were absolutely superb. I couldn't do the job I was doing before. I had to do something slightly different. But it was never the same for me again. It was never the same for me again. And I went from being probably quite an arrogant bloke who considered him to be expert in his field and was a bit of a someone, and who had the boss's ear and all the rest of it, to, in my mind, becoming poor old Al, bit of a grey man sat in the corner shuffling his papers about. And I've got to say, I think I struggled with it. I struggled with it for a couple of years. I retired from being a police officer. They wanted me back as a civilian, and I got promoted as a civilian as well, working for the organisation, but never really enjoyed the work. Got increasingly frustrated, probably aggressive, to the point where I very, very quickly made the decision, without any plan at all, that's it, I've had enough. I've seriously got to do something to change the way this is going. Because I think 32 years is a long time in any organisation. But things had changed quite dramatically for me. So very quickly, in the space of a couple of days, made the decision that I was going to leave the force, which I did. By that stage, I'd remarried, and very lucky, my wife, fantastic job. She's very supportive of me and my decision making at the time. I think she knew where I was heading if I hadn't done something, but left without a plan at all, which is an interesting place to be after 32 years of knowing you've got a job and this is this, and I'd never not been employed. I went straight from college into the police, never not been employed. So it was a strange period of time.
So how you mentioned that your wife was really supportive, which is excellent, because we all need support, don't we, in life, no matter who we are, what we do,
definitely,
and so on and so forth. And so I'm presuming you stopped smoking and drinking to the extent that you were. Was that one of the wake up messages?
I've got to watch my language and I talk about this. So I can tell you exactly when I had my last cigarette, which was 7:20 on the 4th of December 2013, during my heart attack.
Wow. Just
to see if it made me feel any better.
Goodness.
Turns out it didn't. And when I woke up the following morning, with the consultant nose to nose with me as I lay on the hospital bed, he did explain to me quite explicitly where that had all gone wrong. So no, haven't had a cigarette since. Still enjoy a drink, all the rest of it. Still eat far too much food, but go up and down my weight. But I try to be as healthy as possible. And my wife certainly encourages that and keeps an eye on me hugely on the health front. But a massive support to me mentally as well through this period of really, I went from, in my mind, being almost invincible, bulletproof. I was bulletproof Al. I'm a big, I'm 6'3", I'm a big guy, rugby playing, boxing, all that sort of thing, invincible, to being actually quite vulnerable. And it really had a bit of a long-term effect on me, one that I still think about and still affects me today, but I'm far better equipped now than I was 6-7 years ago to deal with it. I think, anyway.
You've mentioned about the blokey bloke thing.
Yes.
I don't know, in today's society, I can't remember the last time I saw a blokey bloke. Things have gone a bit too far the other way for my liking. I think it's good to show vulnerability and so on and so forth, and that was never ever a thing. So yeah, I identify with the blokey bloke, but I don't identify with what we've currently got, which is too soft. I think really, it's all very
You've
well
got
being
blokey bloke and
vulnerable.
wokey woke.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what's going on. The world's gone upside down from where I'm sitting. But anyway, that's
As with
another.
most things, I think there's probably somewhere in the middle is the good ground, isn't there?
Yes, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
certainly the police force I joined in the 80s would be massively inappropriate to be the police force of today.
Yes.
But some things don't. I'm just going to do one thing about policing, actually. Some things don't change in my experience of policing. And that's that, broadly speaking, the baddies don't change.
Mm-hmm.
So the baddies are still the same baddies that were there 20 years ago, 30 years ago, doing bad things, be it either through social deprivation or through guilt, it's not guilt, sorry, greed, or whatever it is. They're still doing, some of them are a bit cleverer on computers. The baddies have remained fairly consistent throughout my time in the police, whereas there's been an awful lot of change enforced on the way that we police those people. And I think the public want to feel safe and be protected.
Again, I think there's a middle ground, because when I see the police now, I don't identify with what I grew up with, what we know, how I saw my dad. My dad went in the police in 1960. And,
different world then.
Different world altogether.
Yeah.
And I often think to myself, what would happen? He died in 1976. There's actually a police funeral. And
right, yeah.
I can just remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's 46 years ago. So he was 46 years old, and it was 46 years ago that he died.
Yeah.
So this
same age as I was when I had my heart attack as well.
Ah, there we are.
There you go.
But policing is such an honourable, well, it used to be a very honourable profession. I know many retired police officers who are saying that they're glad that they've retired. The pressure, the expectation, and so on and so forth.
The accountability.
Yeah, it's very difficult. For people on the outside looking in, nobody can make any comments, judgments without walking a mile in the shoes type thing. But the propensity for police officers, doctors, dentists, I understand as well, to go to drink as a way of coping, which has knock-on effects. Smoking, and again, in time gone by, you have a balance. You have a drink in one hand and a cigarette in the other hand, and the same for women. I did the same. Glass of wine in my case and a cigarette. I didn't smoke very much, and I was very dainty with the gold tip San Moritz menthol cigarettes. But I didn't do it for very long. But it was almost like the expected thing, and it's how you got to kind of bond with people, because it's a social thing. But actually, it's drinking and smoking is actually not that social when you think about it, because of what happens to us.
Gosh, no, it reminds me when I first became a detective. I think in the office that I worked in, everybody smoked non-stop, and on your desk, you had your smoking sort of paraphernalia around you, and you used to wonder why young PCs and everything wouldn't come in the office, because you were hit by a wall of smoke and aggressive
all that testosterone.
Detectives. Yeah, a very difficult atmosphere to break into. Yeah.
Where were you in the country policing? Where were you, in London or around in the provinces?
No, so in Hampshire, and then latterly with squads sort of across the southeast of the country, really, regional squads and things like that. Yeah. Okay, but the start of my career in Hampshire.
Okay, my experience was with the Met.
Oh right, yeah.
It's completely unrecognisable today. So
no,
there we are.
And people need to bear in mind that the Met's a huge organisation. And I don't know, it was around about 30,000 police officers at one stage. I'm not sure what it is now. I mean, that's a huge organisation, so difficult to manage. And policing a population of, was it 7 or 8 million or something in London? It's just an incredible job with levels of difficulty that people outside of that just haven't got a clue how difficult that is. And Yeah, I've worked a lot with the Metropolitan Police in various different guises. And
Do you still have part of you still kind of in the police mentally?
I think once a policeman, always a policeman in your head type sort of thing. Though surprisingly, I think I'm less of a police officer than I thought I would be. You know, I've been out 5 years, whatever it is now. But yes, and very, very sympathetic to the problems that police officers go through. I still get, my wife would tell you, there's only a certain amount of programs we can watch on the telly.
Yes. Yeah.
There's so many policing programs and so many, like there are so many nursing dramas and hospital dramas.
Yeah.
I have to walk away. I have to walk away.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who's coming out of a prescribed life, as yours was in the police, even though you were dashing here, there, and everywhere, and it was ever so exciting? You were told within reason, you knew you knew roughly day to day what was likely to be happening.
Yeah.
What was going to be kicking off, and you were sort of in control, but you were also guided as well. Coming out to life totally on your own, running a business. How's that transition been for you?
So it's challenging in a really good way. Every day's a school day across the board. Just in thinking about that, when I came out of the police suddenly, as I did, I sat down with a bit of paper and thought, right, this is my opportunity. I'm going to write a list of all the things that I can do and all the things I'd really like to do, because I'd really like to earn money doing something that was almost my hobby. So I got up in the morning, thought, and I had my bit of paper. Yeah, no, I got nothing. I got nothing to write down. I've just done policing. Got nothing to write down. But I started to brainstorm stuff, and I was a little bit restricted because of my health condition, my heart, and some of the things I thought, I could really like to do that. But I got some very, very good advice from a fellow retired police officer who just said to me, opportunities will present themselves. Some of them may not be work opportunities, but things will just present themselves. Say yes to things. Just say yes to things. In a lucky position because, receive a police pension and all that sort of thing. And my wife works very hard and all the rest of it. But just say yes to things. And I started to just randomly, things would come up in conversation, and I'd say, well, I could have a go at that sort of thing. And people would say, well, you could do this, and so. I say, yeah, I'll give it a go. And did 2 or 3 little things. And then that has showed me a different side to people, a different side to work, taking me completely out of the police environment. And I now do my voiceover work, which makes me very happy. It's a very satisfying thing to actually hear your voice being used by somebody professionally. Is very satisfying. And I've also got another job, again, something where somebody just said, Al, did you used to do clay pigeon shooting? I said, yeah, I still do clay pigeon shooting. Gone away, got some qualifications, and I also instruct as a clay pigeon shooting instructor, which is literally doing my hobby and getting paid a little bit of money. That's not that's just a couple of days here and there type sort of thing, but it's absolutely fantastic because the people that come to be taught, nobody's coming there wanting to have a bad time. They're all coming to have a good time. So I'm constantly interacting with people who are having a good time, and I get a thrill from seeing somebody else shoot clays. And if that's as a result of some help that I've given them along the way, then that's very satisfying. So my advice to anybody coming out of that sort of prescribed lifestyle is, it's not easy because we're used to a certain amount of discipline and a certain amount of order, and all that's not the way the rest of the world operates. You've got to accept that. Don't be bitter and twisted about it, and say yes to stuff.
Great advice. Yeah, absolutely great advice. And also what you were saying about enjoying what you do, that is so important. Every now and then you'll get some survey come out of workplace statistics. Every time they're asking people what they, do they like their job, 75% of the workplace don't like the work they're doing. Yeah. And that's why we have so much ill health, because if you're going to work and you're not liking what you're doing, you're putting your body in a state of stress. And it's at a deep level, and that builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And if you're, some people will go to work and they'll put on a uniform, they'll put on a suit, and they'll behave in a way that they think they should be behaving.
Yeah,
and if that's
absolutely.
not in alignment with who they are, that is where you get the build up. You get the fast pace, the expectation, being somebody that you're not, and we all know where it ends up. So it's when it's explained, it's not rocket science, is it? It's bleeding
It's
obvious.
not, and that's exactly, if you compare the last 6 months of my service with the police, how I felt, to the last 6 months of me working as a voiceover artist and a shotgun instructor, it's chalk and cheese, if that's the right. So it's polar extent. Definitely.
So important. So that's what I talk about often. Workplace wellness is so important, and we have so many cases, so many examples of police officers, of people in high pressure environments that are just open to this. The lifestyle, the eating on the hoof, this, that, and the other. And
Absolutely.
So many people, when I say to them, show me, tell me what you're eating, what you. They gave the reply that you mentioned earlier on. You think you're healthy. We think we're doing the right thing, but actually a lot of what we're doing is prescribed again to us by social media, by takeaways, processed food, dairy, all of that stuff. That's it's all bad for us. So even though we think we're being healthy because we're told that this product is better than that product and so on, when you read your labels, actually it's not the case at all. So so important to enjoy what we do. So what's your favourite type of voiceover project?
I thought I would be I thought I'd be good at and would enjoy doing the sort of quite straight corporate messages and that sort of thing. And I thought that was where my my skills would lie. I quite enjoy something you can get so the emotive stuff that you can get a bit of emotion into. Turns out I've got a bit of a thespian in me, I think. But the stuff I really enjoy, if I'm honest, is the little bits of character work, usually for gaming makers. So medieval kings, wizards, pirates. Turns out I quite enjoy that.
Oh right, okay, how interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. I've somebody I know who's a voiceover artist. He looks like a wizard as well, and he can double as Father Christmas and so on.
He's the competition.
He's got the part and he's got the voice and he does the characters and so on and so forth. I find it all fascinating.
I love it. I really enjoy that, the character stuff.
But how did you actually get to be a voiceover? You said yes to things, but where did the voiceover thing come in?
So I thought about doing it, as I said, I think probably 15, 20 years ago, largely based on people used to say, oh, you've got a really nice voice on the telephone.
Right, so that's people commenting on your voice.
Yeah. Obviously, most of them slightly disappointed when they actually saw me in person. But so all for all the wrong reasons. I've got a nice voice. I'll probably be able to make loads and loads of money doing it. And it'll be really straightforward because all I've got to do is just say a few words. I had done a little bit of drama and stuff in my very early years. And I literally thought, when I had the time, I'd retired, I thought, I was working in schools and things at the time. I thought I'd dip my toe in and see what's happening with voiceover now, because things must have moved on, because it was going up to Soho every day to try and even get demos done was crazy back in those days. Very quickly found out that everybody was doing things remotely and thought, I'll give this a go. Started looking into it and thinking, actually this is slightly more complicated than I thought it was. There's also a wealth of stuff on the internet of different training schemes and advice, podcasts, and there's YouTube. There's loads and loads to look at. Signed up to do a course with a company that does do training, that quite well thought of. run by a couple of notable voiceovers whose voices you would recognise. And that training is ongoing as well. I've not sat back on my laurels. I hope I keep topped up with my training. And as I say, after about a year of getting myself sorted, getting myself equipped properly, understanding what voiceover actually was, and I started to, be able to say, yes, I am a voiceover artist. I can do this, and I can charge people, and I know what to charge people as well now, which is running yourself as a business is an interesting. As I had absolutely no idea from the age of 19, a pay department has sorted me out.
Yes.
I've never had to think about anything, taxes. Somebody does that. So there's a whole range of stuff that I had to accustom myself with on just the running the business, let alone being a voiceover. It's all great, all still challenging, and I still really enjoy it. 3 years.
Fabulous. It's really good to hear. So when you're doing your wizardry and magic voices and what have we, with the children, presumably they're game. Well, I'm saying children. I mean, adults play games, don't they now?
Most of the stuff I've been involved in has been very much in that sort of adult Dungeons and Dragons type sort of gaming realm rather than kid stuff.
Right.
Some of it quite dark, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, continue to enjoy. It's been lovely speaking with you, Al, and thank you for your guidance to the listeners of how to make the transition and what to look out for. And it's okay not to be a blokey bloke.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Elaine, and thank you for your time as well. It's been good.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.